Rucking is the term given to weighted marches, usually off-road and over uneven terrain. It's been a staple in military training all over the world for decades now. But in recent years, it's become a fan favourite in civilian fitness circles too. However, as an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, as a Royal Marines Commando, I do have to say that most people are getting it very, very wrong.
No! God, please, no! No!
So today I'm going to go for a little wander myself and walk you through my 5 top tips to up-level your rucking performance in just 1 week. Right, let's get on the road. Okay, so tip number 1, as you may have expected, pack your flipping bag correctly. This is something that, again, might sound boring, but bloody hell, the number of people I see do this wrong. Some common mistakes are basically just trying to spread the weight out as evenly as possible. Put some padding, closest to their back, and then put the weight a little bit further away. But basically my top flipping tips for this are just to keep the weight as evenly distributed as possible, as close to the spine. So we don't want all the weight at the bottom, but we basically want all the weight as close as you can get it to your back. So basically to the part of your pack that is closest to your spine. You'll feel a difference, man, in the straps. It won't be pulling you back as much. Obviously total weight is going to be the same, it's going to be pulling you down, but I'd rather be pulled down, and then you can manage that a lot better, than basically having the straps basically pulling from your chest straight backwards. Whereas if it's close in a nice line, kind of stacked up with as little distance as possible from your spine to the end of the weight, to the end of the resistance, nice and high from the bottom of the pack all the way up to the top, it just feels that it kind of sits perfectly. It's an even amount of weight through the straps, and bloody hell, it just feels so different. And in terms of putting a little bit of padding, I get that it can be a little bit bloody uncomfortable, but put a fucking towel in there, don't put a goddamn pillow in there if you absolutely flipping need to. But overall, if you've got a decent bag, it shouldn't really matter that much anyway. So keeping the weight as close as possible to your back, and you might not think it would make that much of a difference, but bloody hell, it really does, man. Even if you're on the flats, if you're on downhill, if you're on uphill, when you move, the fact that your body, your center of mass, is as close as possible to the body of resistance, or bodies, if it's a weight plate or a weight vest, or a couple of different water bottles and books and other things, even if you want to go super flipping primal and just put some household appliances in there. Honestly, it makes a lot of difference. It feels a lot nicer. It feels that you can enter into a position a lot better, where it just feels a lot more natural to have this thing strapped to you, an extension of you for this time, and you can move a hell of a lot easier. That is tip 1. Pack your bag properly, keep the resistance, keep the heaviness, the weight, whatever you're putting in your pack, as close to your body as you possibly can. And tip 2, learn the rucking shuffle. Looking at even just the mechanics of this, guys, it's not the same as walking, but obviously it's not the same as jogging either, and it is a weird middle ground, and because of that, it is kind of its own flipping movement pattern that you've got to master. Leaning slightly further forwards, relaxing into it, and because the weight of the bag is on your back, it's not evenly distributed around your torso, putting you exactly down, it is putting you kind of backwards as well. Because of that, if you then lean slightly further forwards, relax into it, and kind of just surrender, you're going to be doing yourself a lot of favors, and you're not going to be gassing yourself out more than you need to. When it comes to this stuff, guys, even on the flats, let gravity be your best friend in this. Because the problem with this, guys, if you allow the weight of the bag to actually pull you backwards, when your foot strikes the ground, it's going to strike the ground a little bit in front of you. That is basically putting the flipping handbrake on every single step. And the reason that this is such a bad thing is you're going to have to reinitiate force every single step and kind of overcome the inertia of generating loads of force braking. Whereas if you stay a little bit taller, allow yourself to lean forwards a little bit, allow yourself to be in that perpetual kind of like falling position of leaning forwards and falling forwards very slightly, it means that the foot's going to strike directly under you. So you're just kind of continuing that momentum and surrendering to the weird feeling of like you're about to fall over, but you're holding that position. A lot easier on your joints, a lot easier on your lungs, and you're able to just fall into and maintain a certain cadence without that constant feeling of stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, which realistically, if you're doing anything over about 3-4 miles, you are going to be exhausted 20 minutes in. Tip number 3, nice, slow, deep breathing, especially when you start to increase the pace, because it's your body and added resistance. Your heart rate's going to increase, your respiratory rate's going to try to increase, which obviously it's going to a little bit, but if you nasal breathe as much as you can, deep, slow breaths, you shouldn't really be entering fucking zone 4 or 5 from an activity like this. It should be zone 2, zone 3 maximum. Even if you just got a tiny little bit of a shuffle on, as we've just spoken about, it's going to make it a lot easier if you regulate your breathing. A, it's going to keep you calm, and B, it's basically going to prevent you from getting completely bloody gassed out and try to count with it, either in seconds or in steps. But you want a good kind of 4 or 5 seconds, big deep nasal inhalation now and again and again. That will just keep everything nice and calm, and that will prevent you from preemptively entering into a sympathetic nervous system where you just spike everything. The heart rate goes mental, you start to shallow breathe and hyperventilate and just flood your body with carbon dioxide. That is not going to help you, it's not going to help your mindset, which is obviously what we talk a lot about on this channel actually, in terms of one of the benefits of rucking being, especially recreationally, is to just get some good quality zone 2 in, stay calm, being with your own thoughts. You definitely want to do this if that's the case, and control and regulate your breathing and keep your breathing as slow and nasal as possible. And even if that's not the case and you are actually doing some military prep stuff, trust me, even if that's the case, this is going to be amazing for your performance, because it's going to show your body that you're capable of performing and executing at this level without needing to go like that. Keeping your breathing calm and regulated, guys, you will thank me in the long run. Tip number 4, guys, hard targeting on the way down. For those of you that don't know what this is basically zigzagging. So if there is a gradient downhill that is beyond a certain angle, instead of just following your bearing and going straight down, actually kind of zigzagging all the way down is going to be a lot easier and enjoy. It might sound a little bit weird, but it actually takes a little bit of sharpness off of that steepness, off of that gradient, and it alternates the primary leg that's being worked. So you kind of give one of the legs a little bit of break for anywhere between 10 and 30 seconds as you're going down one side. And it might sound on the face of it a little bit counterintuitive, because you might think you're actually doing twice as much distance. And even though that might be right, I guarantee you it's safer. It's a lot less eccentric load, so it's a lot less strain on your ankles, your knees and your hips. You will A, get down to the bottom a hell of a lot quicker, and B, you will be in better condition by the time you do get to the bottom of that hill. In terms of judging what level of steepness, what angle this has to be to transition from going down in a straight line to hard targeting, should be fairly intuitive. If you can kind of move down at a fairly nice relaxed pace, that's fine. If you're having to brake because if you actually relax you're going to go down too quick and you're going to basically fall off a cliff and start accelerating, then that's probably a level of gradient and a steepness that you want to stop going in a straight line, and you want to start that zigzagging motion, which A, might mean you get a few more steps in, but trust me, you'll be grateful at the end when you're in a far better condition to continue the rest of the ruck from there on out. And 5th and finally, fuel accordingly. If you are yomping, rucking, tabbing for, I don't know what I'd say actually, probably anywhere up to about 90 minutes, 60 probably, but 90 at a push, kind of door to door 90 minutes, you can get away with not really having anything on you other than just some fluids, and then making sure that you kind of replenish depleted glycogen stores, etc., with some carbs, some amino acids, whatever, once you get home after 90 minutes. But if door to door, if the actual activity is longer than 90 minutes, then what you want to be doing is making sure you take some electrolytes with you, maybe some amino acids, but probably some sugars as well. Like, can you go for 3-4 hours with nothing but water? You can, but you're just going to look like a fucking moron. And I'm really not a big fan, especially as I've gotten older, of young guys just trying to prove that they're tough by wearing, you know, shorts when it's -10 and not fueling themselves properly, and you say, well, I've already got water and I was fine. Well, you might be fine in the fact that you're not going to die, but the goal with this isn't just to continue to absolutely beast yourself. It's to ensure that you're as healthy as possible and that you actually do the right things to make sure that basically this activity is as productive as possible. And one of the metric of success with it being productive is, you know, am I actually getting the training effect that I want? And you're going to get a much better training effect, and you're able to execute things a little bit better if you fuel accordingly. And the main dictating factor that is basically going to dictate how you need to fuel is the amount of time that you're out for. So 60, 75 at a push, 90 minutes, you can get away with just, you know, kind of cruising it and having just water. Anything longer than that, don't be an idiot. You're not a hero. If you're a young guy and you think you look like a hero, I get it, because I used to do the same, I'm sure. But the fact of the fucking matter is, you're just gonna look like an idiot. You're not gonna get a good training effect. You're just gonna push yourself into exhaustion, and you're not gonna get the benefits from actually doing this bloody thing in the first place. Fueling accordingly. If you go literally 1 second over 90 minutes, probably even 75, electrolytes, maybe some amino acids as well, and take some liquid carbs with you. So there we go, guys, my 5 top tips to up-level your rucking performance in just 1 week. Again, it might sound a little bit ambitious, but these tiny little tweaks in technique and biomechanics in movement pattern forming will go a long way to making sure that you actually just guzzle up, you're just gobbling up ground here on the hills, on the mountains, any off-road terrain. And you don't even really need to get that much fitter before you'll start to see the performance metrics change by the fact that you're just covering ground so much faster, and you are less sore and in better condition by the time that you reach the end point of whatever your ruck is for that day. There's a fair few different things I've covered with you today, guys, so any questions on any of it, please do put it down in the comment section below. If you have not yet done so, make sure you smash that like button. It only takes you 2 seconds. It's obviously very helpful for me in the growth of the channel. If you have not yet done so, make sure you subscribe as well. And as always, guys, stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video.